Welcome back to Fantasy Baseball 360. You got some questions about hitting? Well, Scott White's your man. Hitting planner starts, and we've got an interesting situation at first base this week.
Yeah, a couple of situations that might be the opposite of what you expect. Brian LaHare, yeah, he's kind of slowed down recently, but his overall numbers still look great. You're probably thinking he's still an automatic start. Well, that's not necessarily the case. See, the Cubs have gone a long time without facing a bunch of lefties. And it's fortunate for him because look at what he's doing against lefties. Absolutely nothing. He sits against them sometimes even. So looking at the Cubs schedule this week with the 3 left-handers on it, I think it's absolutely a case where you would want to sit LaHare. The opposite end of the spectrum here, Justin Morneau, terrible against lefties, but great against righties. Look at the numbers he has against right-handed pitchers. That's all the Twins are facing this week. 6 right-handers in 6 games. 230 batting average around that area on the season. So you might not be so jazzed about starting Morneau, but looking at those splits, I think it's absolutely something you should do.
Excellent usage of the adjective jazzed there.
And great animation. You couldn't see it with the graphic.
We had the
but
jazz
you did give
hands.
your head a little shake.
Actually jazz hands there, yeah. All right, time to get on to the team aspects of this. Some teams with good schedules for hitting and 2 teams with poor schedules for hitting. We start off with the good schedules. The Astros, you look at their numbers overall. You know, they started off pretty well as a team, but kind of slipped of late. Their numbers right now, 10th in the NL in batting average and on base, and 14th in the NL in slugging. So why a good week, Scott?
Well, it's mostly a matter of the matchups here. The 4 games at Colorado, that's always a good thing, especially the way their pitching staff looks right now. You notice the doubleheader there. And then even against the Reds, Mike Leake, Bronson Arroyo, both a couple of hittable pitchers. I expect big numbers for the Astros this week. In particular, guys like Jose Altuve and Jed Lowry, who seem to have bounced back recently after a couple rough stretches. JD Martinez had a big game yesterday, so it's possible if he keeps it up through the weekend, you'll go ahead and throw him out there. Jordan Schaefer, and maybe in slightly deeper leagues, is another guy I look at for this week. Notice 6 of those 7 guys were right-handed pitchers. His number's a lot better against righties.
The next team is the Colorado Rockies, who are scheduled to have a good week. You look at their numbers, number 2 in the NL in slugging, number 3 in home runs, 8 in batting average, and 6 in on base. So they're a pretty good hitting team to begin with.
They are, and
they got TBD, so you always figure against TBD you got a shot.
That's the best matchup there is, That same series with the doubleheader. Houston coming in to Colorado, 3 more games at Colorado against a couple of fly ball pitchers there in Aaron Harang and Ted Lilly. So I love those matchups. Michael Kadire, I think if you've been kind of disappointed with him recently, this week isn't the time to give up on him. Also like Marco Scudero and Todd Helton and Dexter Fowler. Not a guy who over his career has had ridiculous home and away splits, but this year, all 5 of his home runs have come at Coors Field at a 999 OPS there. So I like him even in mixed leagues.
Nando, who do you think TBD could be? Who's in the Astros farm system? Who's in the rotation? Who can be the next Lucas Harrell?
I think it'll be. I'd have to look at the schedule for the minor leagues to see whose time is coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Scott?
It could be Enieri Rodriguez. He would be my first guess.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing.
Either way, TBD is a good matchup.
I believe it's a very good matchup. Yeah.
All right, so on to the bad matchups. Now this one's interesting. The first one is the Yankees, and listen, their hitting numbers are fantastic. 3rd in average, 3rd in on base, 3rd in slugging in the American League, 2nd in home runs. Now they're facing 3 elite pitchers, 1 almost elite guy in my opinion at least in Fister, and then 2 average to above average guys. So
who's the 2nd average guy? Santana?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I would say Santana's
I might
average.
slot Santana
maybe to slightly above, slightly above average. I would say.
A little bit of a disagreement here on the difficulties of the matchups, but
Porcello is definitely an average pitcher in my opinion.
Yeah, he's the one guy who I think the Yankees will go to town on. But the others, I think, are definitely tough matchups. Unfortunately, every time we talk about the Yankees lineup, there's only so many guys you could consider sitting there.
Correct.
One guy who I think people have started scooping up, he's been on an RBI binge lately, Raul Ibanez. Normally, you'd see the 6 right-handers there and think that's a great time to start Ibanez, but because they're so difficult, I would choose to sit Ibanez. Maybe Nick Swisher in shallower leagues since he's kind of slowed down, and then Russell Martin if you haven't given up on him yet. Now's the perfect time to do so.
Last team here with the bad schedule, we have the Washington Nationals, 11th in the NL in batting average, 8th in slugging, 9th in on base, and they're pretty average to below average hitting team, and now they're going to face some good pitching. So I would imagine a lot of pitchers duels in these 6 games.
Yeah, Mike Minor, if you want to call that an easy matchup, is the only easy
Probably,
matchup
right.
there.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper and Danny Espinoza, a couple guys who have been up and down. Probably a better time to sit them in mixed leagues. Adam LaRoche finally seems to be slowing down here now. 1 hit in his last 20 games, average finally below 300. I'd probably go ahead and sit him. And then Ian Desmond, I know this is one of your guys, Nando.
I just took a good side of his. I don't love him. I don't.
Yeah,
hug him.
I don't love
He just
him
would
either.
date him. He's not in love with him.
I just, he comes up. I like him, and you vehemently hate him.
I do. That strikeout to walk ratio, even during this hot streak, it's been pretty bad.
Right.
I think it's got to end soon. This week seems like a good time for it.
All right, coming up next, the Friday look ahead here on Fantasy Baseball 360. Hey, I'm George Sedano. Thanks for checking out Fantasy Baseball 360. We're on CBSSports.com weekdays live at 5 p.m. to break down the latest news, stats, and roster trends to give you the winning edge. Don't make that trade, set your lineups, or pick up that free agent without tuning in live at 5 p.m. Eastern. For the latest analysis, you can check it out right here at Fantasy Baseball 360.